Welcome everyone to another episode of Traders Talk podcast, where we sit down with some of the best traders to hear their story, hear their struggle, man, and use that as fuel to light our own fire. Today I have Dan. He's got a YouTube channel, crypto channel. I've been following actually his journey for a little bit. I found his YouTube channel over a year ago, and I've watched a lot of your videos, man. And you've done a really nice come up. I follow you on Instagram. Lots of cool stuff. So yeah, welcome to the podcast. Man, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Living a dream. Everything's busy as hell, but I'm enjoying life and I'm enjoying the journey at the moment. What about yourself? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. So yeah, just giving you an introduction to the Traders Talk podcast. We kind of just get traders on here and just ask you about your story. Like, you know what I mean? Like the first question, because I'm a fan of people's story. Like if you're a trader and you're doing this part-time, full-time, I just want to hear your story, man. I want to hear like how, what the journey for you was like. Because when I was going through it, I used to look out for videos like this. Like, oh man, how did this person get there?
Inspirational, right?
Right.
And motivational.
Right. So like the first question I always ask on this podcast is like, it's like, what was life like before you found trading? Like, what were you doing? Were you in university? Were you studying? Like, what was going on?
So, do you know what? Even though it's a cliche question, it's actually a very important question because I'm like, I wouldn't say I've made it in life, but it might, like, the best way I can put it is everything I wanted to be when I was 20, I've achieved it. I've fallen short a little bit, but if you shoot for the sky and you aim a little bit lower, you still get to better than where you was. And life before this, honestly, we struggled. So single mom, grew up. She had to work like 3 jobs just to keep me afloat. We couldn't even afford food. We struggled. It was a very, very tough time. But one of the things is I always say, even though that's your story, it's your past, you have to accept it, move on, and then tell your new story. But that was what it was.
Yeah.
And the biggest turning point for me, the biggest turning point for me. And if you're listening to this podcast and etc., I really hope that you can get this motivation, because I believe if that situation and I could get myself out of it, there's no reason why you can't. And I understand everyone's different and everyone's got different mentalities and approach. But the same with, like, I know other people who are way worse off, who are hella successful now in their own eyes. But there was two turning points for me in specific. One that changed my mindset and one that changed like just me full stop. And then the other was that changed me financially. But yeah, I had to have both to make me who I am today. So the first step was first breakup. That's how it always happens, right?
Yeah.
The first breakup. And then my uncle passed at the same time. This got deep real quick. My uncle passed, and then my mum went to Hong Kong to the funeral. And then it was December. So I had to spend Christmas by myself, broken up, depressed. Mum's away, lost a family member. I was hella depressed. And then obviously I found gym, and then I got myself out of it by thinking, I was obviously very, very sorry for about a year, but I was like, there's a saying by Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you know about it, but if you become a bad mood, it becomes your mood at the moment. But if you keep it up for a period of time, it becomes your personality.
Right.
And then that was the personality, right? Like, I'm in a bad mood, I'm bad today. And then over a week, it's a bad event. Over a year, it's a bad personality. So then I decided, I don't know what it was at one time, but I just flipped the switch and I was like, okay, do you know what? I can't be depressed forever. Life is way too short. And then I started to have this PMA and the positive mental attitude, which is a book by Norman Vincent Peale, right? PMA. I didn't actually know what it was at that time, but that's what I was slowly doing. Even though I was positive and doing whatever, the financial life of that part, I was still very poor, struggling, couldn't afford food, living off £10 a week, which is like $13 a week at uni. So I don't know how, honestly, I have no idea how I did that.
So this was during university? Like around that time?
University. So from 18 all the way to 22.
Okay.
And then I was doing mechanical engineering, and I thought, same thing, shift in my mind. I was like, I'm fed up of fucking being poor. I'm in overdraft. I can't afford food. And I was thinking, with the rich people, I was driving through, there's a place in London called Swiss Cottage, and they're all full of like £1 million houses. And I was thinking, there's nothing different from them. And like, say it or me or you, they've got 2 eyes, they've got a brain, they've got hands, legs. Why are they rich? And why am I not? And why is my mum not? And then over time, I just think, you know what? Even if I'm poor, at least if I can try, that's all I can do. I can just try. It's better than being poor and not trying.
Right, 100%.
So yeah, that's kind of like a little bit of like before life. And then that kind of coincides on how I got into trading. So Yeah, that's pretty much what life was like before. At the moment, I was poor as fuck and depressed as fuck.
So wow, so that like yeah, so you came from really humble beings, and then did you find out about so did you complete university at that point, and then like did you start working, and then do you found out about trading?
So it kind of like a mixed, I was kind of like a mixed transition. So around 22, 23, I was hustling. Like I was doing everything. There was a 36-hour day. I remember I was doing anything I could do. And that's why me and my friends have this conversation. And it's the same with you, right?
Yeah.
If you can take away everything from me right now, take away your money, take away everything, starting fresh, I will still be where I am now, just faster. Because I was working a part-time job, just like in a warehouse. Okay. I was doing clubbing events. I'd organize clubbing events. So basically you can't buy tickets, make money off of that. I had another part-time time in a warehouse, so 2 part-times, and I was doing that. And I was saving every penny I can. But with that, I'm just trading my time for money, and I was never getting rich. I was better. You know, I could still afford food, you know, it was a better lifestyle, go out drinking, go out. At least I could do luxuries, like go out and eat. I couldn't do that before. At least I could actually afford to go eat out with my friends. And I actually found trading halfway through. Okay. So in uni, we do, I don't know if it's the same over there, but we do like 3 years and then 1 year out. It's like a placement. So like a year in.
You work somewhere, right?
Yeah, it's like a placement. So then I did that year in placement on my 3rd year, and I read this newspaper where this guy spent £20,000, which is about $30,000 roughly, or less than that, on a night out. $26,000 roughly, right? If you do 1.3, so $26,000 on a night out, and I was like, "That's right. That's a lot of money." What? And then the title says trader spends £20,000 on a night out, and then that's how I got hooked on trading. I was like, I know finance is where you make money, right? Right. I need to get into it. So I was looking at investment banking, I was looking at brokering, I was looking at trading or hedge funds, but I didn't know what the terms were. Right. So that was kind of just how I kind of transitioned to trading. And then after uni, so actually just before that, I was going to do my master's, but I took a year out and I did a year in finance or brokering. And then that's how I kind of got into trading. I met my mentor there. I saw he made, you know, in a day more than I can make in 5 years. Damn. So I was like, I need to do what he's doing.
So did you start with like stocks, or did you start with Forex at the time, or like what did you start trading?
To be honest, like first proper trade was probably it was like stocks. Okay. We're looking at it, but stocks are so, I don't know if people know, but like if you're trading stocks at the time, I'm not too sure if it's the same, but it's expensive. Yes, you have to pay for the scanner, you have to pay for commission, you have to pay for your trade. You're already down before any trade is executed. And also there's only limited time you can trade them, like 9 to 5. Right. And that's where, you know, you start weighing out Forex versus equities. Right. FX is 24/5. Yeah. You know, the spreads are cheaper. You can just open a brokerage and just trade it, you know. Yeah. And it just made more sense to go into FX. But I even though I say I'm an FX trader, I don't actually execute that much on FX. It's gold and DAX. Right.
Yeah, I seen that. You trade a lot of indices as well. So in terms of your trading, like the education part of it, was that through that mentor, or was it some yourself, like some YouTube or course? Did you do any courses or anything, or was it through somebody?
Yeah. So back then, it was a long time ago. There was nothing like, you know, what you're doing is really cool, because a lot of people can learn from you, the other traders, and hear my story and know that it's possible. Because, you know, social media ruins it for us a little bit, right? Everyone's got a Lambo and everyone's got a thingy. But even if you have Lambo money, you don't go and buy a Lambo, you buy assets. That's the smarter thing to do. But yeah, no, I at that time, YouTube was pretty much scarce and there wasn't that many traders on YouTube. You know, Anton Krill, who most people know, he was probably the only one, but he's very institutional, you know, the Goldman Sachs guy who did the trading, etc. So I only really learned from him, and it was just trial and error for like 2-3 years. Right. And then that's when like I got my own system and my own strategy. And then it kind of like went up and down, because after 2 years, I was fine. I did 2 years profitable after that. And then I spent there was 1 year where I was all over the place because of social media. Like you open it on Instagram, someone's making hundreds of thousands, and you've done the same, you know what I mean? It happens. And I, you know, you've got to accept the mistakes you make, but you just think, you know, I remember my biggest day. This was the first, like, I realized it was bad. I made £1,000 in that day, which was $1,300. I was ecstatic. Go on to Insta, someone's made 100 and you think, oh, so insignificant, right? Then overtraded and then ended up breaking even. I was like, this needs to stop. And then that was when I learned, you know, you just got to be in your own path, your own lane, and focus on you. It was a good lesson, though, to be fair. You know, it was an expensive one, but it's a good lesson. I think that's what happens with a lot of traders now, right?
Right. Okay. So a lot of your learning was kind of you yourself, and then from your mentor, right? And so how
Yeah,
long ago?
trial
How
and
long have
error.
you been trading for now?
Well, I've no idea, man. Like
That's a long time,
five
bro.
years, six
6 years.
years.
Okay.
Yeah, 5, 6 years, I think. Yeah, like two was off, like two was learning. Like
Yeah.
it took me 2 years to make it happen. Then two profitable, one thingy, two. Yeah, it's about 5, 6 years,
Okay.
something like that.
Um,
Can't remember.
and then so now, I see you doing a lot of stuff with crypto. But in terms of forex, you're
Hmm.
trading like mostly indices is what you trade.
Yeah, yeah. DAX is I pretty much 80 to 90% of my execution on DAX, but I followed
Okay.
DXY and GU because obviously you need to know where the market's going.
Right. Right. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. And then I saw that you had a little bit of a funding series. You did some you did a My Forex funds recently as well. So what are your thoughts about just
Yeah.
these funding companies that are just everywhere now and people are just blowing money? You know.
Two things. I think the first one is be careful because there are some really bad
Yes.
bad funded programs, right? So make sure you do your due diligence, and that's the same with crypto. People just jump into it without actually doing their checks. But overall, I think funded trading is great if you don't have the capital. Not
Right.
everyone has access to $100,000 on their own, or $5,000. But there are just a few things just to share with people, just to make sure they understand. If they give you $100,000 account, make sure you understand it's actually a $10,000 account, because if you lose 10%, it's actually the $10,000, and
Yeah.
that's a mistake I made when I was doing it. I did think it was 100,000. It was sold as 100,000, but then I lost 10%, and that was actually a live account, right? I signed
Right.
it, passed it live, but I had -12 on my own account, so it is what it is. There's
Yeah.
no excuses or whatever. Losses happen in trading.
Yeah.
No one can tell you losses don't happen. So that happened, lost the account, and then I was just demotivated. So understand that. I think that's the first one. And the second one is a lot of opportunity. You can make a lot of money from funded trading. I've got a lot of funded, like in our trading team, there's a
Yeah.
lot of funded traders in there, and they do really well. And they don't have to leverage their own risk. Some
Right.
do. So for example, they have their own account. Like I know you said earlier, just before
Yeah.
this, you're building your own account. An option you could do is, if you ever decide to transition, just link them as a copy trader. So you have
I
like
do that.
four
Yeah, I
accounts
do.
and just link them in.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. One of the guys I've got at the moment is at around 600K, just linked, just
In
trades
funding
one
mode.
account.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's good about it is psychologically, this is another like obstacle I had, which we'll talk about maybe later,
Yeah.
is whenever you get to like trading more, right? When you switch from 10,000 to 100,000,
It's a
the
big
money
difference. Yeah. The
does
lot sizes.
psychologically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does affect
Yeah.
you. But if you only trade 100K and you're comfortable with it, but if you trade, six of them and they just copy it, that
It's gonna throw you off.
it's not 600K.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do like a 600K on its own, that will throw you off. But if you just link it,
Yep,
it's
and
only
that's what
one
I do.
account and
Yeah.
you're trading 100K.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's easier to manage, it's easier to trade, and you just link them through. So yeah, funded trading is great. I encourage people to do it if you don't have the money. If you do, then just trade both.
Yeah, I agree. The biggest benefit for me with funding, I really think it did level me up as a trader last year. Is just having to follow those rules. I didn't have the money to trade my.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have. I did have the money to have like a $5,000 or a few $1,000 account, but when you have a small account, what happens usually is you want to make more money, and then you have no other option but to over leverage. Like I don't want to make $5 a trade, right? So the funding was a great option, and I did really well last year. I got that FTMO interview, and I did pretty good, and then I did exactly what you just said. I linked all of them together because having 400,000 would just throw me off so much. So, but I think there's a big benefit if you can trade funded and follow the rules. It actually made me into a better trader in following my own rules on my own account as well too. So, but in terms of emotions, like how do you? I feel like a lot of, especially new traders, or even I struggle with it now. How do you deal with the emotional part? Like if you're going through like a losing streak, or if you just you're down a little. Like how do you deal with a losing streak or like a bad week? Because they're gonna come regardless, right? Like do you have certain steps you put in place?
Yeah, so obviously, there's a saying I say, which is a dream's a dream, but a dream with a plan makes it a goal. And if you take action on that plan, it becomes a reality, right? So when you have losses in periods in trading, etc., you have to have that plan, right? Your dream is to become a trader. Great. What is your plan? You must take action on that plan to current reality. So if you're in a losing streak, if you've actually taken action on your plan and your plan is solid and you've followed your strategy and you're losing, that's cool. That is the action still to get you to where you want. You're just using, the only problem is, this is the thing, like, and I get it. And I'm not just trying to tell you it doesn't happen. I'm just trying to give you a solution straight away. And then we'll talk about it. Is you got to understand, like, losing is part of trading, right? That's the biggest thing. So pretty much right now, like, I do have emotions when it comes to trading. Yeah. It's more FOMO emotion. Losing, I don't really care. Okay. Winning, I don't really care. It's more like when I've waited 3 hours for a trade and I've gone into the toilet and just walked away for 20 minutes and it hit the point and the alert's gone off and I didn't have my phone and I've missed it. I'm like, and then that frustrates me. And then the other emotion, it's more frustration is my biggest emotion. And I'm very in tune with that from journaling, is one thing I don't do anymore, but this used to frustrate me, is when a trade was in, say, 2 hour, 3 hour, and then I'm used to move stop loss into break even. It hits break even and then into take profit. That used to piss me off.
Yeah. And then you want to go back.
Yeah. So like it's gone in profit, like and then it comes back down to break even, hits it because I moved my stop loss and then goes into take profit. But it normally does respect those areas anyway, because I trade off of zones. Yeah. So from now, I either take the loss or I just take the profit. I don't.
Okay. So you don't go to break even now.
No. I don't do break even ever. I think break even is a waste of time, because I've gone in. If you spent 2-3 hours planning a trade, you've understood the risk. So I'm either going to lose or I'm going to win. Right. Because if you move it to break even, that just ruins your score moving forward. Yes, it can limit your losses. Yes, it can, you're preventing losses. But at the same time, you're missing out on opportunities as well. And in the long run, I did the mathematics of my strategy and the ratio, I lose money if I move it to break even. So let's keep it that way. And it's also, even if I don't make money, like I make less money, and not that I don't make money, if I make less money, it's better for my mental health. And I'm better like, you know what I mean? It's just easier. But yeah, losses. I think now it doesn't bother me, but early on, it did bother me. You start questioning your strategy, you start questioning how to trade, you start questioning everything, you start jumping onto everything, and that's the worst thing you can do. Start jumping from strategy, because what happens is, I'm sure you've experienced this, right? If you have a losing streak, you start thinking, and if someone else is making money, you think my system's wrong.
Always.
I can't trade,
especially if you're on Instagram.
You think. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Social media fucks it. So if you can come to terms, and this will happen with experience, so you can't just turn a switch on, is, losses is part of trading. I just read that from the Money of Psychology, right? If you have 10 trades, 5 lose, 5 win, it doesn't matter, because your ratio is so good, you'll be in profit. Yeah. Long term.
So, and then usually what kind of risk are you going for? A certain risk to reward ratio, or every trade for you is just different?
Yeah, I have a minimum, but most trades are different because it's more zone to zone. Right. So my minimum requirement is 1 to 2.5. Okay. If there's anything, like, I normally aim to 1 to 3, because it's just better, in terms of ratio. If you do the maths, you need 30-40% win rate. So yeah, it's normally 1 to 3, 1 to 2.5 if I want if like confidence building, the market's just doing shit and you just want to, just add some winning positions and boost your ego, whatever it is. So yeah. Okay.
And so like, what's your kind of trading style? Like, are you doing like support and resistance? Are you doing supply and demand? Like what kind of trader are you?
Yeah, very similar though to supply and demand and support and resistance. Mainly we have 2 days in. I can swing trade, but I just prefer day trading. You trade, you close it, and at the end of the day, done. I don't need to hold the position for 10 years. Right. So ultimately, I just follow the trend is your friend. Right. You literally follow the trend. You understand from a higher time frame. You don't counter trade. You can if they're major key levels at monthlies or whatever, and it's just short. It's a risk to reward, and it pays off. But mainly I follow the trend and just look for continuation. So break retest is one of them, and then another one we call is pattern A, which is due to Heiken-Nashi, and that was the first thing I learned from my mentor. Okay. And then Dan, do you still like journal your trades, or like was that something you used to do and you just kind of don't do it anymore? Yeah, still journal. It's all journal completely to this day.
Really?
you can see we have this whole we've got this journal sheet, so it's transparent, so you can see every single one of my trades that I've taken, my losses, my wins, all the trading views. All my whole team journal their trades as well, and then I review their journals. It's just good to see, because even if you don't, like, when you do it and you look at yourself, that's when you can see, because if you're not thinking clearly, you don't know the answer. But if you look at the overall picture of how you're losing streak, right? So I was actually just reviewing it. I had a losing streak last year. And it normally happens after a very, very big win. And I had a very big win in March and end of Feb. And I knew I wasn't like calling it, but I knew like the market was going to slow down, just like Dax has, right? We've got recession potentially arguing, inflation's gone up, yada, yada, yada. That's kind of made the market quite uncertain, and it doesn't trend in one direction just as of yet. It's just bouncing like a yo-yo, except for GU. GU is just trending down. Right. But the point is, I just take the foot off the gas at the moment. I've taken like 3 trades earlier in April. This week we've done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday we traded. We didn't trade today. All 3 days were win days. But the 3 weeks before that, like maybe 5 trades out of 3 weeks. So you just got to know when to take the foot off the gas, right? Yeah.
Same with me. I think January was a really slow month, and there was a whole week when a week would go by, I wouldn't take a trade. I'm very picky with my trades now. There's some weeks when I only take 2 to 3 trades. I would rather just take a trade that I'm very comfortable with, and low risk. It's just better for your mental health to not just be jumping in and out of trades like crazy. So if people want to learn, go ahead.
Sorry, and I think one big thing is, just to add some value to listeners, is small versus big account, right? You're trading a bigger account. You only, like, for a small account, say you've $5,000, like you said earlier, even if you say do 10%, that's $500.
Right.
You know, how many trades do you have to get there? Or even say 20%, right? That's $1,000, right? How many trades do you have to get there? If you're doing a 100K account and you only do you do that 10% in a week, that's 10K. That's your whole month done. And that could just be one trade. So as you get better at trading and you have more capital, you end up trading less, because
I agree.
You subconsciously said you pick better trades. It's less stress. You have higher probability. You're more confident. It makes more sense. And you're not over trading, and you're preventing a lot of the things that can fuck up your trading, which is over trading, FOMO, chasing, all that kind of stuff,
I agree 100%.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
So I was going to say, Dan, if people want to learn from you, or like what is the best, we'll leave the links in the description, but do you have kind of like a group or a mentorship program?
Yeah. So everything's free. But ironically, even though it's free, people never succeed when it's free, because there's 2 reasons. They don't commit, and they don't. There's value, right? Like people, when it's like a personal, everyone knows how to get fit. No one gets fit until they get a personal trainer, because it's accountability, etc. But you can learn from me on YouTube and TikTok. Mainly everything's gone to TikTok now. Just because we're getting a better response rate, and I think that's where social media is going, right? TikTok is the place. And YouTube is just pure crypto at the moment.
I see. So you're doing a lot of your stuff on YouTube regarding crypto. So I'll leave all of Dan's links in the description below. One last question I want to ask for everybody is, like, okay, what advice would you give to somebody who's either break even right now, or they're kind of like just struggling to get to that, getting to that break even phase, or a little bit of profitability phase? Is there any kind of like advice you would give to like the older you, or somebody who's like, who can't control their emotions, or is over trading or something like that?
Okay, it's quite a difficult one, because there's so much to say. But if there's one piece of advice, it will go back to what I said, is the dream, plan, action, reality. So if you're break even and you're losing, and you just feel like you're hitting the wall and you're struggling, I get it. It's very frustrating. But understand this. Does your strategy work? Does your plan work? Have you tested your plan? Are you getting distracted? Have you done 1 month of following your plan? So everything revolves around this plan. You've got to understand how important this plan is, because if your plan's faulty, you're taking action on a faulty plan, and you're not going to, even if you get the result, it's not the result you wanted, because the plan had a fault in it. So make sure you have a clear-cut plan that works, that makes sense for you. Make sure it's understand, right? We're all different. So you trade different, I trade different. Don't
Agreed.
worry about what me and you are doing. Worry about what you are doing, and the plan is right for you. And I promise you, I honestly promise you, if there's one person that can take this message, heartfelt message away, it's worth it. It is really, really worth it. And I'm sure you can testify
Yeah,
to that
no,
as well.
agreed, 100%. Yeah, I always say like you gotta pick a strategy and a plan that fits your personality because everybody's personalities are different, especially in trading. So
100%.
with that being said, Dan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, man. I'm gonna leave all of Dan's descriptions below, his Instagram, his TikTok. So if you guys want to go ahead and follow him and check him out
Thank you.
on YouTube.